I have 7:02, and we have 5 members here tonight. Aaron McGarry is not present. First order of business is approval of the minutes of the May 19th regular monthly meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Larry has the motion. Is there a second? Steve. Thank you, Steve. A second. Is there any discussion about the minutes?
I do have a couple points. I have a couple points I'd like to make.
Yes, Steve.
The paragraph 5, which is the selectmen's update, indicates that there was a structure fire in a residence at this place residence. I believe it was not a fire, it was just inspected and condemned. So there's no fire there. And the other item is on paragraph 7 of the finance department report. It says 100.1% of the property income of the property tax that come in, but it's of the budget, not of the prior year.
101% of budget.
Right.
Okay, I didn't check if Dottie was online.
She is.
She is,
And I
but
should have. Okay, good evening, Dottie. Dottie, did you get both of those changes?
oops, I'm gonna change my view. Hold on. Doesn't look like she has a microphone.
Okay.
So-
I captured them. I'm hopeful that she did. I also didn't check if Aaron was on Zoom.
No,
So I stand corrected. that 5 of us are here. 6, and Aaron McGarry is not present. Okay, any further discussion or comments about the minutes from the Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes with the 2 changes that Steve Herbert identified, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay. That carries 5-0. Next item is correspondence. There are 4 items on the agenda here. The first was a web inquiry by Jeffrey Bolte, who was asking about budget, access to the recently passed budget. Second is the invitation to the 8th grade event, the Moving Up event. This was the middle school event on June 8th. Proud 8th graders that are gonna move on. Third was the tax collector sale of property for taxes report. And also from tax collector, the 11th month. I'll call it good news tax collection. That was terrific. Other correspondence or anything you missed? Okay. The 4th item is citizens' comments. We'll start here in the room first. Are there any citizens here with comments? Okay, we'll move online. Anyone on the online Zoom meeting with a citizen comment? If you do, please state your name and address, street address. Okay, I think that is none. 5, selectmen's update, first selectman, Amy Search.
good evening. I don't have a ton to report tonight. I do have a great good news report that the sidewalk project, which will extend from Route 200 to Rawson Ave on Riverside Drive, has finally gotten underway. We had received the last approval to move forward with the construction from the state of Connecticut. So we're excited to see that finally come to fruition. It's been 2 years, practically a year and a half, 18 months in the making. Additionally, we have a couple more projects that are coming up. As of June 24th, State DOT will begin a milling and paving project from Route 200 to the East Thompson Road. Milling is set to begin June 24th. It will go until June 28th. And then the paving itself should begin on July 11th and wrap up no later than the 15th. They actually anticipate the paving to take about 3 to 4 days. Additionally, into the summer months, the state will come in and actually finish up Route 12 along the sidewalk project. So that's going to work kind of in tandem back to back. And the timing seems to be working out well for both of those projects to be completed by the fall. Some fun things coming up. June 25th, we begin concerts in the park. That's through Thompson Recreation. We start with June 25th, Jim Perry and the Ed Sullivans. And then we have some concerts on July 16th, July 23rd, and August 6th. So mark your calendars. Concerts begin at 6 p.m. in Riverside Park. Additionally, on June 25th is the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. The collection takes place at the Thompson Highway Department on Buckley Hill Road. It does not take place on the transfer station, so make sure your friends and family know to bring their hazardous waste directly to the Highway Department. That will run from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. And that's all I have for you tonight.
I believe they need to bring their ID as well.
Yes, thank you. You must show that you're a Thompson resident. It's only open to Thompson residents. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for the first one? Steve, yes.
DPW director, any success in that area?
Michelle blasted it out again earlier this week, and we do have 4 potential applications that I have to weed through. A couple of the people live pretty far away, and the only way that they could actually take the job is if they moved much closer to Thompson. So we're going to just kind of reach out to them and just see what their intentions are. No, we have no bites at this point on the maintainers. I will say that what we're experiencing is just the job market is pretty open. The pay scales are high. And yeah, it's just, we don't rank at the top as far as pay scales are concerned.
Are we going to adjust our?
I did adjust. Oh, that's what gosh, I should have told you. I did ask Michelle to increase the pay scale for the public works director to hopefully, at least the range, and it'll be based on experience. So I increased that by $15,000, up to $15,000 more than what we had been paying.
Any other questions or comments? Ruth? Okay, thank you, Amy.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next up is our school district update. Superintendent of Schools, Melinda Smith.
Well, hello, everyone. The 21-22 school year has finally ended. It's been a long one with a lot of challenges, but the end of the year is always so much fun. Our enrollment numbers as of June 1st, we have 919 students. That's down 1 student from last month's report. There are still steady at Marriott Bishop with 412 students. 290 students at the middle school and 217 students at the high school. We had a wonderful graduation ceremony last week, attended by a lot of people. All the 600 chairs were all filled. It was a lovely event. I want to thank the faculty and staff, and especially the parent groups that participated in the moving up ceremony, the carnivals, the field days, the field trips, all the fun stuff that happens at the end of the school year. We certainly want to thank the Thompson community. Our seniors this year received in scholarship money over $52,000. And they were awarded from local community organizations, and then obviously scholarships established in the memory of loved ones. But honestly, $52,000 to our graduating seniors. And it was a really nice award ceremony that we had. At this time of the year, it was really nice to put COVID behind us and have the typical end of the year celebrations with field day and field trips. We had none of that the past 2 years. So the students were really excited about that. We have a few things going on. First of all, and I also want to thank First Selectman Amy St. Ange, Suzanne Witowski, and obviously the members, my bosses, the members of the board that, you know, there are numerous events that happened at the end of the year, and they were there constantly attending these events. So I really, I thank them for that and their participation. A note of interest for next year, and I don't obviously have projection numbers yet for next year, but at the end of the year, we already know usually about around 26, sometimes even higher, students leave our middle school and they attend alternate high schools like Ellis and the BOAG. Going into next year, we only have 5 students going to the BOAG, and we only have 5 students going to Ellis, so that's 10. The students are staying. We've aligned the last 2 periods of the day at the middle school with the high school, and we actually have middle school students taking high school classes for credit. And that seems to be well received. And once the students get a flavor of Turtle Rock Memorial High School and all the wonderful things to offer, we're seeing that they're staying home. So we're pretty excited about that. On the heels of the Texas shooting, and if you followed that story at all, you'll find that the way the shooter got into the building was that there was a door that didn't latch. We have some doors that have been chronic problems on the campus. We have 78 exterior doors on that campus. So I did have a door company come out last week to assess those doors. It's beyond, some of the issues that we're having with the doors are beyond what our maintenance group can do. So I'm awaiting a quote and a report from that company to see where we're at with those doors, but they need to shut and they need to be locked. We do have security that maintains and makes sure that they're surveilling the exterior and keeping those doors shut. But with 78, it's virtually impossible for them to keep their eyes on all those exterior doors. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. From Mr. Birch, the boilers are on order. They were put on order the day after this meeting. He talked to the state today, Amy and Bill, and the reimbursements that he talked about at last night's
Right.
meeting, they're actually working on them.
Yay.
So that's good news. So money will be coming back. Let's see. Oh, and Monday night, Kathleen Herber, our chairman of the Board of Ed, facilitated an exemplary service recognition and alumni award. It's the first that the Board of Ed has put together. We've had numerous nominations, and it was really challenging to pick the final 5. Usually they want to give 2 a year, but for the inaugural year, they decided they picked 5. And so those 5 honorees were Joe Lindley, Al Snatt, who was a music teacher at the high school, Shirley Poole, who used to be a former TPS secretary, Michael Joyce, who's a wonderful tech educator and so part of the fiber of the community, and finally Rachel Johnston, who you know is a proud alumni of Turtle Rock Memorial High School. And that's my report.
Just one question, and I think it's probably more for Bill than you, Melinda, and that's regarding the state funding, assuming we get it for the boilers. When that money comes in, does that go into the general fund, Bill? And do we have the option to put that back into the fund that we're taking it from?
So we don't know if that's reimbursable yet. There is, last night, even at the building committee meeting, there was a preliminary document that came out from the state that said there was going to be some grant money that came out for HVAC upgrades. We're not prepared at this time to apply for that because we're at the very beginnings of having the ventilation system assessed, which includes the heating system. But Bill did say last night that he wonders if that could give us a reimbursement. Those funds came out of that non-lapsing
Right.
account, so I don't know what would happen with that.
I was just curious whether or not we could reinstitute those funds into your fund, if in fact we do receive them.
We're keeping our fingers crossed. We're hoping that because they are boilers and they are part of a vent system. So, you know, the whole HVAC system. So Bill said that last night and we were all excited about the possibility. So we're going to keep our eye on that. And we know that we're keeping our fingers crossed for more security money that's gonna come from the state. The legislation passed for more mental health support. So I'm hoping that we see some dollars flow back into the school department.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Real quick before we change topics, along those lines, it's a great question, Dave. Bill, I think it'd be worth following up to see if we're required to put it in that lapsing fund.
Okay.
It
Will do.
was there and we wouldn't do it
I think
intentionally.
we were
as a
required to
board.
put it in the general fund. Any money coming in normally goes.
Yeah,
It does.
I would
But my
agree.
question is, can we as a Board of Finance resubmit that to the other fund which it came from?
Okay. I think we should find both of those out because we would hate to have a situation where we didn't move them out and move it back intentionally, but
Right.
I would imagine when there's a lapsing fund like that, there's safeguards against what can happen. So, but I understand the question. Yeah. Bill, if we could find both of those out, I think it would help guide us in future meetings if it's reimbursable. Let's hope it is.
Yeah.
Steve?
I wonder if you have a outlook on special ed out of district placement for this coming year.
So currently.
And I know it's early.
Well, currently, there are now 24 students in out of district placement. So we started the school year actually in August 1st with 19. We're now up to 24. There's been a lot of movement on the backside who have come in from out of district and are now in the Bradley School program. And there's been shuffle of students. Right now, as of the 1st of June, there are 24.
We've been as high as 29, I believe,
Yes.
maybe even more.
Yes, yes. One of the things that the Board of Ed will vote on July 25th at their next meeting is, obviously, they haven't reconciled the $100,000 reduction in the budget. They did add money to the special ed account, but the reduction will most likely, with my recommendation, and certainly their vote, would be coming out of that amount of money, because there's nowhere else for me to go as far as reductions, and especially in that amount. Bill and I are working on, just reconciling the end of the year now, so we are not sure where we're gonna end up for this current year. We're really praying we stay in the black. We usually get some bills over the summertime that are usually unexpected, but right now we're in the black, and I'm hoping we stay there.
Thank you.
My only comment, partial question is on the doors. Have you looked into any surveillance to be able to monitor that? And I ask only from the vantage point of private companies are doing the same thing. I know this is a school, but along the same lines. And there's technology to be able to know if they're closed and if they're closed and locked. So that might give you more visibility.
And we have, obviously, there's some surveillance cameras, but there is an alert if a door is ajar, but it has to be, a certain way. We know that we have some chronic issues with some doors, and we've tried again to fix them ourselves, but some of them may be beyond repair. And so having them assessed, and maybe it's a simple fix that we have to do, and we're hoping that. And we asked the person that came in to assess the doors, give it to us in phases, those doors that really have to be replaced, and then those that we can temporarily fix. And then down the road, maybe our maintenance crew with good advice or good hardware can fix the others. So we just want to make sure our security team does a good job. I get a report every day and they list the doors that are ajar. I can tell you right off the top of my head what doors they are. So it's just making sure that they latch behind the teachers when they go out. Even though the teachers are usually at the front of the line, right? And so somebody needs to pull the door shut, but they should latch on their own. So that's what we're looking at.
Super. Okay, thank you. Next up is the financial report from our finance director, Bill Stebbins. Bill?
Thanks. The May financial report on the revenue side, some great news. Property tax collections continue to be high, 18.5 million year to date, which is 100.8% of budget. Current tax collections, 17.5 million year to date, $1 million higher than the prior year. The items driving that are really higher taxes due in the current year, just a year-to-year increase, along with an improved collection rate in 2022. Collections of prior year taxes, 463K year to date, 49K higher than prior year. This is driven by payment of back taxes, pre-tax sale on several properties. Interest and lien collections are 261,000 per year. Year to date, sorry, they're higher than prior year by 41,000. This really follows along with the accelerated collection of prior year taxes. Motor vehicle supplement tax collections are 307,000 year to date. They're higher than prior year by 119,000, and similar to last month, this is driven by improved communication from the DMV post-COVID on location of motor vehicles. State and federal grants, there was no activity to report in May. On the local revenue side, continued good news, 1.2 million collected, which is 102% of budget, 113,000 higher than prior year, driven similar to last month by increased conveyance taxes, miscellaneous income of $86,000 due to the sale of 1395 Riverside Drive and some surplus equipment up at the school, and an additional $20,000 of Turtle Lot Trust revenue. Other revenues, this is just a reminder for our GAP fans that other revenues include the proceeds from the refinancing that we did earlier in the year of a total of 7.2 million. On the expense side, excluding those refinancing costs, expenses are 7.7 million year to date, which is approximately $447,000 below the full year budget. The board had asked me to look into two specific departments this month to dig a little deeper into the overages there. One was canine operations, where we were $36,000 over budget year to date. That was driven by three primary drivers. The first being higher than expected ACO salary during the year. The second was payment of prior year NECOG bills in the current year. And the third was higher than expected vet bills. On the latter two, there's some good news there. We actually do have an accrual on the books for the prior year payment of NECOG expenses, so that will come out of the budget. So that takes care of 20,000 of that variance, and 5,000 of the variance of the overage, will be covered by dog fund funds, which I'll actually touch on a little later in my comments. The other department we took a look at was town council, where it's $34,000 over budget. And that is 100% driven by increased unbudgeted legal expenses related to our refinancing of the school bonds.
Just a question. On
Sure.
that, Bill. I could be wrong, but it seems to me in the past, every time we went out to bonding, the expenditures for the bond were rolled into the bond itself. And I was surprised to see the legal expenditures outside of that.
Right. I can definitely look into that, but that activity, it's pretty clearly listed in the GL.
Well, I
Yeah.
understand.
Right,
It's
but-
just that in the past, it seems to me that those numbers had been rolled into the cost of the bond.
Right. Okay, great. On the balance sheet side, cash decreased 1.6 million from last month, and interestingly enough, 1.6 million from last May also. A few other items I'd like to touch on, just to let the board know, we do have a signed engagement letter with our auditors, King and King. The fee went up about $1,000 to $51,000 for the year, similar scope to last year. We are currently working on audit scheduling. Unfortunately, they have lost one of the key members of their audit team, so I think they're scrambling a little on there and trying to work out scheduling. We plan on presenting proposed budget transfers to the board in the July meeting. And the last thing I'd like to go through is a little more information around the dog fund. This is separate from the canine operations budget. It is not in the general fund and essentially represents the accumulation of donations in support of the ACO and canine operations and is tracked in a completely separate fund. Currently, that balance is $59,800. And the revenue and expense items that typically go into that fund include donations to the canine operations, dog adoption fees, any animal-related quarantine or kennel fees that they collect. And initially, the dog license fees that are collected by our town clerk hit this fund really as a holding account, because ultimately they are resubmitted to the, remitted to the state of Connecticut. That timing happens around now, actually, at the end of every year. So this year, there's of that 59,800, there's about just over $6,000 that are current year dog fee collections that will be remitted. So that'll knock that balance down a little bit. Typical expenses that are covered by this fund, as outlined by the state ACO, are building repairs and maintenance. For example, we put in a new water tank up there this year. Veterinary bills for the animals, as I mentioned, that's a cost we can cover that drove one of the overages this year. And then once again, the dog license remittances to the state.
And all is said and done, Bill, and where do we stand? I assume that the current balance is going to decrease significantly.
Right, correct.
But it will also affect the budget item.
Right. The $33,000 overage that we had in canine operations will come down to about $8,000 after we take care of the $20,000 for NECOG fees and the additional vet bills.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Bill. Any other questions or comments for Bill? I have one, and it's thank you, Bill. Appreciated getting your report. And the time and the speed of answering and the thoroughness of answering both my questions and Steve Herbert's questions. It just confidence and reassuring. It also shows that we kind of know directionally what's happening in terms of there's an overage, so there's a why, there's a why it's happening, what those drivers are, and then the actions around what we're doing. In some cases, maybe it's out of our control, right? There's all varying degrees, like when you get to snow. What can we do? So we understand that, but appreciate the thorough follow-up. Thank you.
I'll just second that. I really appreciate the quick response. Pleasant. Very nice. So thorough. Refreshing.
Next up is the Turtle Rock Fund update. They did not check to see if the chairman of the Turtle Rock Trust, Tom Angelo, is here.
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay, we have other members here. I personally know that we have a meeting on the 29th of June to talk about the fund advisors. That's the only update I have. So
I think
there's
that's
three
the
others.
big-
Maybe
That's
you
pretty
guys
much
have
it.
Yeah,
other updates. Amy, Bill,
I think you're right.
that's
That's,
the update.
yeah.
that's the
biggie.
update.
Melinda, is that the only update?
Yeah, that's about what I know too.
Okay. Any updates from the projects?
So I believe that, they're still waiting on the windows to be delivered. There were those two that were ordered incorrectly, so we're waiting on those. Everything's been cleared out of Rescavage, so that seems pretty well complete. And I haven't heard of any new activity happening.
Okay, terrific. Okay, on to new business. Tax collector, tax suspense list.
Yeah.
Mr. Moore,
Thank you, Rob. Can I come over here, Rob?
please do.
That's good, thank you. Well, Rob, off a little bit tonight, I see that Dottie called in, and I had put a bunch of stuff in her mailbox to get to you before tonight's meeting, so you probably didn't get my report ahead of time like you normally do. So I'm gonna pass that out. And also, there's a copy of the annual report that was in Dottie's box that I don't think you guys have received yet.
So the good news is we won't lose these.
No idea.
You said you didn't have one yet, though, right?
Thank you.
And you got one.
Yes, I have it.
Thank you. So once a year, all tax collectors, all 169 tax collectors in the state of Connecticut have to come to their chief financial board to present the annual list of items, accounts to be suspended. Suspended is another word for writing them off the active accounts receivable roll. So we always do that at the last Board of Finance meeting of the year, as close to the year end as possible. So I ran the outstanding accounts for personal property and motor vehicle supplement a couple days ago, as I always do, and came up with the total that I'm asking permission, because we have to get permission to suspend these accounts. So the amount that I'm asking for this year is $182,390.82. That's up slightly from last year. And the major reason for that is in personal property. If you look, you have detailed reports of all the names and the balances of everyone that makes up that $182,000. You'll notice on the personal property, which is the business tax, there was one new business in town this year with an $8,000 personal property business tax that went unpaid. And that's Dudley, that's Northeast Sand and Gravel here in Rollerdale. So that bumped up the amount by $8,000 there. And under motor vehicle, it's about the same amount of accounts, but the average, it's interesting, it's at the average tax bill for motor vehicles, like everything else, but we knew last year that motor vehicle bills were being hit rather harshly. So the average write-off or the average bill this year is $170 essentially, was $143 last year. So if you do the math on that, that makes up the difference. So the long and the short of it is, I'm asking your permission and ultimately Bill's permission, because he does that in his office, to suspend 182,390.82. When we actually do that transaction at the end of June, probably on the 29th or the 30th, that amount will be less than it is now, because we collect every day. Matter of fact, yesterday and today, since I did this, we collected about $1,400 more in motor vehicles, so it'll be less. Keep in mind that we continue to aggressively go after all the unpaid personal property and motor vehicle tax bills, just as if they were on the active accounts receivable. And you can see that I've got a note there in the last sentence. So far this year, we've recovered a little over $86,000 from accounts that had been suspended in previous years. So, you know, the way it works, as most of you know, in the state of Connecticut, it used to be every 2 years you had to get a new registration. Now it's every 3 years. So we have, you know, about 30% of our accounts are on the 2-year plan. So when they get their notice from the Department of Motor Vehicle, it's time to register, they come to the office and pay their tax bills. So that's every 2 years. However, now it's going to be every 3rd year, thanks to our legislature, but so be it. The long and the short of it is that there's very little that remains unpaid over a period of time, over a 3 or 4 year period of time. Okay, all this does is it cleans up the accounts receivable as of the fiscal year end June 30th. So, and again, the listing is there for your personal reading pleasure.
Quick question.
Yep.
In that, until you get everybody flushed through to the 3 years. So in the transition, while some are in 2 and some are in 3, is it similar to thinking about accounts receivable in accounting, whereas we'll see that number drop in terms of delinquency because people are getting that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're really gonna feel it in this fiscal year, because that just was voted on by the state legislature this past year.
So that's gotta basically work its way through to get everybody to be
Yeah, sure.
What doesn't get collected?
I'm sorry?
What doesn't get collected? why wouldn't eventually somebody have to do this?
People who have,
Moved to
maybe
California or out of
moved out
country.
of state and don't come back. Interestingly enough, we have people who move out of state every week and don't pay their bills and think they're never gonna come back. But son of a gun, a lot of times they come back, and those bills that were maybe $500 or $600 are now $2,500, $3,000 with accrued interest for a number of years. And we see that very often. And that's good. That's good for the town because, as you know, we budget $250,000 in interest income each year. So you sort of have to manage that, and that's how it plays out. Yeah.
I believe we do.
Motion that we approve the suspension of an amount not to exceed $182,390.82.
Steve has a motion. Is there a second?
Rob Mann, I'll second.
Rob Mann has a second. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Okay, passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Rob. I just wonder while I'm up here, were there any questions? Did you all receive my electronic version of extremely successful tax sale that was held on May 26th? Any questions on that?
Congratulations, it was a fantastic job.
$340,000 from that effort. We started with 31 accounts, 31 people got 30-day notices, 6 paid right away, 25 accounts got turned over to the attorney, and all but 7 of those got paid off in that 3 or 4 month period, that legal time that has to go by when everybody has to get notice. And we successfully auctioned off right here in this room 7 properties that totaled $133,000, which makes up part of this $337,000.
I noticed in your list, I noticed there were 3 categories of settlements, if you will. What was the first, I don't have it with me, but what was the first account? The first one, was it property sold or something like that? I didn't understand that particular.
Oh, yes, the very first one on the list here,
Yeah.
Amber Grace, 32 Buckley Hill Road. She sold the property from to an abutter on Buckley Hill, sold the property, and we got paid off at the closing.
Thank you, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Any other questions?
Super job.
Yeah,
super
just,
job. You've done a
just-
great job.
One other thing, if I can pass this along to you, the state of Connecticut recently, the governor's office, rah, 75 towns in the state of Connecticut have reduced motor vehicle taxes. You probably have all heard that in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Well, that means 94 towns did not get reduced motor vehicle taxes, and Thompson is one of those. The way that worked is they set the limit that towns could tax motor vehicle bills at 32.46 mil, and we're at 25 mil, so we're a long way from that. So in your big cities like New Haven and Hartford and most of your blue cities and big towns that have liberal spending policies, their mill rates are a lot higher than that. So those folks who live in those towns get a nice reduction on their taxes for living in those cities. Who pays for that? The people in this room, because the money has to come from somewhere. So it's going to come from the 94 towns. Now, that's not said when you listen to the press release. That's exactly. So I just want to make sure that in case you're asked about it, somebody's going to probably say, I thought my motor vehicle bill was going to be reduced this year. Not in Thompson, and not in 93 of the other towns in the state, mostly the small towns. I think east of the Connecticut River, only Willimantic and I believe Norwich are the only 2 that saw a reduction.
So they saw a reduction from an already very high number.
Yeah.
So we're still on a relative basis.
Oh, yeah, we're at 25 mil, we're in great shape. You see my schedule that I put out every year. Yeah.
That's terrific. Thank you. Ray.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Okay. Don't see any old business. Finance member comments, any comments from the group? One, I was hoping to be done well before 9 o'clock to make it to the Celtic game, so. I think we're successfully. There's no other comments. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. 7:42. We're closed. Thank you, everyone.
I stopped.
These are the kind of meetings.